everyone, this is Sabrina. Welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, we are going to start on August for Project Life 2023, and that also means that I'm starting on a new album because remember I just finished up July and shared a flip through of that. So this is the album that I have that's empty. I'm not sure if I'm going to use it. I mean, the gold is very reflective, but I'm going to use it for now. And the reason I'm doing kind of an intro video is because when I first started planning out August, I wanted to have a cover page that reflected like what happened during the month, which was going back to school and summer ending. So I planned out the pages where I would do a August page of the kids going back to school and then finish up summer and then do the back to school photos. And I just really didn't like how that was working together. So I decided to switch things around and I'm gonna work on my summer pages and share those later. So my intention is to do a summer cover page. I have a collage that I'm working on in Photoshop Elements. So that will be here to kind of finish up summer. And then I also went to meet my friend Erica. So I'll have a travel page about that. And then I will show you the end of summer like weekly spread, which is this, and it's finished up. And then for this video, this is where I'll focus on the back to school pages. I also decided to include a page about going back to work. So I'll show you that one, back to work, back to school, and then the back to school photos. So I just wanted to share kind of my thought process on this because I just didn't like how it was broken up into, you know, an introduction with school photo, then summer, and then back to school. So I wanted to kind of put a line down the middle and divide them because I've said before, August is a little tricky for me to figure out. So I hope you guys enjoy this process video and have a great day.
The first page is going to be the kids holding up their signs, and I made this page pretty much completely in Photoshop Elements because I had to change the colors of the school kit. The remembering was like a gold frame, and I thought about trying to use the gold frame that was actually in the kit, but in the end I liked how I made the remembering a little less so bold. Subtle is the word I was looking for. And I just cut those out with my printer. I think it was my printer, not my Cameo. And then the today card, I printed that as well. So that way it could be the same color. Or no, you know what? Actually, the today is from the kit, I believe. But either way, I focused on the reds and blacks since that's kind of the colors that I saw in my photo. And I just really like the idea of red as a big, bold color, especially with that today card. Yeah, that today card is a physical and I just chopped off the today part. I also used a die cut that says August, changed the color of it, and used my Cameo for the title, Back to School, and I'm going to pop dot that so that way it has a little more emphasis. And below that will be another chipboard that I printed that says So Beautiful. And I love this page. And another reason I kind of wanted to change up the order of August is because, like, why should I not include my back to school or my back to work story? Because that is very important to include in our family stories. So I'm wrapping up adding down the title, and I do decide to stamp some stars from the actual story stamp just to add a little something extra. And also I feel like it helps your eye travel around the page. I also didn't feel like I needed any journaling because I am going to do some journaling on the back to school photos. And also this page originally was just going to be the start of August. So I didn't feel like the start of monthly pages need journaling. Most of them I do not journal on. It's just an opening. And then after this page, I don't remember which one I put together next. I believe it is my back to school one. But I love how this one turned out. It was really fun to use the bold red, which isn't a color, you know, we normally use in scrapbooking. red is kind of tricky to use. So when I was looking for photos of me going back to work, I had like one my husband took of me in front of my vehicle. And I was like, oh, I don't like that photo. So then I remembered that I actually took a lot of like car selfies when I was on lunch. And so I used 2 of those, and then also used a journaling card from the digital work story kit that said, doing what I love, plus loving what I do. And I just changed the plus sign, the and sign, to an orange. And I went with definitely the orange from my blouse and used the digital work story kit. There's some like, I don't know what you want to call them. They're circles, but they have little like spikes on them. I love them. They're so fun. They're just a fun shape. So I used several of those in 3 different spots to make some clusters and add to the movement of the page. I also have a picture of my classroom, so I put that underneath the journaling card for a little flip up. And I die cut a title that says work, die cut it twice so that way it has a little more definition to it. And then I got the new December Daily Alpha stamp set so that way I could stamp out back to. And I really love how that turned out because this alpha is just so much fun to play with and use. I did start off by working on my cluster down in the bottom right corner. I took one of the orange circles, cut it in half, and put half on the journaling card. And that way the cluster looks like it's on the journaling card and also underneath, which is really fun. So the circles are orange, and then there's a neutral one that says work. And then there's even like a lighter, almost cream one that's just plain. And I really like those. So it's just orange and a pop of neutrals, and I love it. It worked really well to use those car selfies. I also took a lot of mirror photos of like me giving a thumbs up, like I've got this, and I just love that I did that. And maybe at some point I'll put together a story page about that because I was really cheering myself on as I entered this new season of life, as we all entered this new season of life, myself and my people. So I have the title stamped, and then the work title. It kind of went a little higher than I wanted, but it's okay. It worked out. And the next little cluster I have is up in the top right corner. I always feel like if you have a photo where there's a head, you have to be kind of careful with how you do your clusters so the cluster doesn't look like it's coming out of someone's head. And I think I did a good job with that because I put it as far over to the right side as I can, and then use that other half of the orange circle. I could not find any of my rulers, so I used my Hobonichi pencil board to draw a few journaling lines so that way I could give kind of an overview of the story, which was that after staying home for many years, I was going back to work. Go me. And then I said, I'm proud of myself and will embrace this new season of life. So again, I am just so happy that I decided to kind of change August around and include this story because I think it's really important. My kids may not look at my albums right now, but someday down the road they will look at this album and hopefully, right, and see, mom went back to work and it was a shift in life, but we all did a great job. Mom did a great job, and so on and so forth, right? At least that's the hope. And then on the underneath where the journaling card is, I will talk more about my position and where my school was. And my pen died, which was totally frustrating, and I didn't have a backup pen, I try not to let that happen because you want to have the extra in stock of your pens, your favorite pens, and it's so frustrating when you don't. And I ran out, so I tried my best to make it last. What I did on the flip up is I did a label that was like a neutral peach color. Then I did work and added in some pieces of the orange circle and a leftover one of kind of the pale gray almost. I then remembered that the Grit story kit had just come out, so there was a phrase in it that I could use that says, I've got this. I stamped that along with determination 4 different times to wrap up the page. The last page is going to be the back to school photos. I have one of my son, one of my daughter, and then one of each of us. So it's going to work out to be a really nice vertical, easy design, nothing too complicated. I did take a 4x6 dot card. It's like a brownish color, and I cut it into 1-inch strips so that way I could use it down at the bottom. That is definitely a go-to for me, using any type of pattern paper or stripe to kind of unify both pages. I also reprinted one of the journaling cards that said school, so that way it could match more of the colors that I was going for, which was kind of the brown, a little bit of that almost like muted olive color, and then the neutrals that were in the kit, nothing really bright, because remember in my back to school page it had that really bold red. I did not want that this time. I wanted more of the neutrals. I also trimmed down a quote card so that way it could be 2.75 by 3.75, because that's what my photos are. So I'm going to lay down my strips. Unfortunately, because this is 7 inches across, I have to have a little tiny piece down at the bottom, which is frustrating, but that's how it works. I could have just printed it out digitally, but it's nice to use up the physical supplies and think of different ways to use the physical supplies than just what they are. So, this was a journaling card, but I turned it into a pattern paper strip, and it works just as well. So once I have those all put down, I can lay out my photos, and what I thought is I would kind of mix up the photos. So my son and I would be on the left-hand side, then my daughter holding the sign, and then on the other page, it would be my daughter and I and my son holding the sign. So I thought I would mix it up that way, and I think originally when I designed this in Photoshop Elements, I think I had the photos on the right-hand side page flipped. So that way it was my daughter and I down at the bottom. But in the end, I don't think it matters. It just looks like a great back to school page. Now, I took the digital stamps Love and Learning to make the title, which is Love Learning. And when I cut it out with my Cameo, I set it aside and I didn't put it on a tray. You know that I love using trays. Well, I didn't use a tray this time, and I lost pieces of the word love. So I had to go back and recut that with my Cameo so that way I could, get the full title and not just little pieces. So note to self, always use those trays. And I also die cut the word learning, but I added a stroke behind it so that way it was like one piece and it didn't have to cut out those letters really tiny, because those letters are separate pieces. So like the E is a total of 4 pieces, if that makes sense. I used one of the library cards up at the top, and originally when I designed this, I thought the library cards were a little bit bigger, and I was wondering, well, how am I going to do 2 different spots of journaling? But I think I figured it out with doing what grades my kids are in, and what grades my kids are in that library pocket, and then down in the bottom left with the school journaling card, I could talk more about how they enjoy school and how the first day of school went for both of them. So kind of breaking up the journaling in different sections like that. So grabbing that due date card, I am going to talk about how my son, this was his first year of high school, which is just absolutely incredible. So I came back to the project after I die cut this title a second time. Thankfully did not lose any of the pieces this time. And I think the title works. Like if you read it, it says Love Learning. So I don't know. I guess I could have done Love of Learning, but I don't know. I think it works. What do you think? So pulled out that card, talked about my son going into high school. My daughter was going into 5th grade. It was her last year of elementary. And then over on the bottom left card, I just said that summer went by super fast. The kids went back on August 10th, and it was a pretty big year for both of them as my son was going into high school. There's a lot of exciting and big and different changes happening, but he's fully capable of doing hard things. Both of them are fully capable of doing hard things. So that was my journaling, and I'm thrilled that I got to use a quote card because those quote cards I tend to not use. So I was happy to use the one that says the beautiful thing about learning is that no one can take it away from you. So I love it, and all my pages look fantastic together, and I have a great start to August. I hope you guys have enjoyed seeing these pages come together. Thanks so much for taking the time to watch. Bye.